Hello and welcome. I'm Jessica.
And I'm Emily.
And this is week 7 of our Good Neighbor Block Sew Along.
We are sewing our 7th block. It's Arlington. We're going to show you this today. So Jessica, what's going on with Arlington?
Okay, so Arlington is a pretty cool city in the suburbs of Dallas. It is home to our major sports teams like the Dallas Cowboys and the Texas Rangers. And it's also home to Brittany.
Great.
So we thought highlighting Arlington would be really cool because it is truly a cornerstone of the Dallas community.
We've got it laid out here for you. We have the same ACCUQUILT blocks that we've been using this whole time. We've got the small triangles that you'll see in the navy, the green, and this peach color right here, all in the small triangle. And then we've got the big triangle in the peach. And then the third unit we have is the square. So we've got 2 squares on either corner here. Our Arlington block builds on our Rockwall block last week in the sense that we've got this big triangle here and we're going to sew these together to give us that opposite half that we can sew that easily together. We're going to mix things up a little bit because these right here, we are going to be basically using these as half square triangles and we'll have 4 units that go together.
Okay, so we talked about how we're gonna do this triangle to this triangle as our first kind of units that we're working on. What's different about this, Emily?
So this one, we're gonna be working with a lot smaller units and folding these together, but then this square is going to, you know, these are gonna end up being the same size as this one. So not very difficult, just a little bit smaller units that are gonna be coming together in these opposite blocks here.
These squares are me, always on the outside trying to get in, but wild and different.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I'm just messing with you guys.
I think we're really gonna like this block too because right now the pieces are a little bit separate, but when they come together in the center we have this awesome spool.
It's so cool.
It's just like a spool of thread.
Emily and I are also hungry right now, so we may say anything in this video. You never know.
Oh, you never know what you're gonna get here at this house.
I'm going to talk about Flatter again, and I may sound like a broken record, but I love this product. Someone asked me earlier, what's the difference between Flatter and Best Press? And my initial reaction was to tell them that Best Press reminds me of my childhood in a negative way. It's all I smelled growing up. I grew up in a sewing store, for a lot of you that don't know. So besides that, just smell comparison, Flatter wins every time. I love the smell, but I'm very sensitive. In fact, I can't use laundry detergents or soaps that have like perfumes or dyes or things like that that aren't natural. It makes me kind of rash up. Flatter, it doesn't bother me, it doesn't make me sneeze, it doesn't make me react to that. So if you're making a quilt for someone that has sensitive skin or is just sensitive to certain chemicals, Flatter is chemical free, it's really great, and it's a nice natural alternative to a traditional spray starch. So again, you just want to be cautious of what you are putting into your quilt. So this is a really great alternative. So I'm gonna spray just a little bit of it, and I love the spray, and maybe I used too much just now, but oh well. We'll get over it. And I'm using my super awesome iron, and I'm just gonna kind of iron out that crease so that Emily can have a really beautiful piece to stitch together for our first block. So there's my other one. The other cool thing about Flatter, especially if you're using it on like a press mat or your ironing board, is it kind of stays. The smell kind of stays in your ironing board or your press mat, and I love that. So every time I iron, it's like, ah, it's like relaxing. So I just really love the product, and I think I'm passionate about it. So, all right, so Emily's got her 2 pieces ready to go, and we're gonna start sewing. I'm so excited.
Awesome, thanks Jessica. I am probably not going to be chain piecing as much in this video. Our block is starting to get a little bit more complex, so I'm going to kind of work 1 unit at a time. I'm only going to focus on here, and then I'm going to repeat that over here. So the order of operations that I'm going to have for my blocks is that I'm going to sew the green one to this outside navy. I'm going to line those up. I'm going to put the 1/4 inch along my machine. And then I'm going to go ahead and come back to here and show you how to sew the navy to our open block. Like I said, I'm going to do kind of one thing at a time instead of chain piece, because I'm gonna take them to my machine, I'm gonna have Jessica press them, I'm gonna lay them out. Like we said, we haven't had lunch, and I just don't wanna think too hard about putting these back where they go. So
lack of food and thinking do not go hand in hand.
So instead of having a big chain piece that then I have to put them back, if I do one at a time, I'm not gonna mess up my order of my block that I have right now.
We should get snacks.
Maybe we should. We could totally chain piece. But I want to focus on one block at a time like that. I've got my 1/4 inch set up on my Bernina 590 with my 97 D foot and my dual feed. So we will work through this block.
Awesome.
This is the first seam that we did so far. I've got my half square triangles in the corner, and I am pressing my seams open because Terry is not here to tell me otherwise, and this is the way I like to press them. So now I can take my 2 pieces here. I'm going to start by lining up my ACCUQUILT block just like that, and I'm going to sew my 1/4 inch right here and have that pressed open as well. The reason I'm not chain piecing these is because I want to make sure that, you know, I don't sew maybe the opposite one that doesn't go together. So I'm just doing one unit at a time. And now that I have that unit, I can come over here and do my other one, and I can refer to my layout because I still have this placed. So it's really easy for me to keep my place with my design. But because I have my equal triangle here and here, now I can flip those and line up my points and sew my 1/4 inch right there. Last week we talked about a very similar technique. So even though I flipped this with the pink or the peach side down, the way I sewed it on my machine was this direction, and that's so that I could really focus on my point right here. I want to make sure that my needle is going right to the side of my point so that I don't sew it flat, and you can see when I open it up I still have a really nice point. So the block does lay out like this, and even though I flipped it this way, when I took it to my machine, we're still looking at this side up. That also allows any of these extra seams not to get kind of stuck and tucked underneath whenever in your feed dogs. Anyway, Jessica pressed my seams open for me, and she laid my block down. And the reason I'm not chain piecing right now isn't because I'm lazy or that I want to do more work. It's because I really want to follow my layout and my template.
Because trust me, Emily would love to get to some food right now.
So I can look at what I've already sewn, and just whenever I was laying this down, I referred to my layout. Now we know I can just turn that around, and
Perfect.
Those are going to be, you know, the opposites, the mirrored image. So this is actually how I want my block to lay out. And I think that's really simple. You know, chain piecing is really good if you're making the same block over and over, or if you're using similar units. But when you have a couple different things going on, it really is best just to take your time and sew the pieces kind of in order.
That's why I went and got everybody some
Little
graham.
snacks.
What are these animal cookies?
We haven't had our snack bar out in a little while. I know everybody who comes in the store is used to having our M&Ms, our goldfish, our animal crackers, our gummy bears.
So we've been eating them.
So you're eating them now. Okay, so we'll keep going with this block. So I've got my Bernina 590 set up with my 97 D foot and my dual feed, plus my guide that comes with the 97 D foot, and my straight stitch plate. This is going to help me have my longer seam go along my guide independent of my foot, so that I can get all of my 1/4 inch perfect. So I wanted to show you this because we talked about the bias last week, and I am just doing a little bit of stretching in order for my blocks to line up, and I just want to make sure that I don't sew through my point. So that's going to be up. And you'll notice these don't line up perfectly. I've got a little bit of allowance right there. That's totally fine. So I'm gonna sew this. My foot's gonna totally drop for me. And this Bernina is so quiet. And there, I'm not going through my point. We're pretty lucky with these blocks because they don't have to line up just yet. Like this point isn't lining up to anything over here. We're wide open. We'll have some things later that we'll work on matching up. I had a few snacks, so I am going to chain piece my green ones because I can't sew those together wrong. I just might place them wrong. So I'm gonna chain piece all of my green and navy units right here and then come back and have them pressed.
Emily and I were talking about reality shows and things we've been watching lately. Emily's not a huge TV person.
I don't watch a lot of TV. I can't normally hear it. I don't have speakers. They're not loud enough. So I can't hear it over my sewing machine.
She's living in 1993. No, I'm just kidding. So Brian and I are like, and Brittany too, are like obsessed with 90 Day Fiancé. It's a problem. So what did you just start watching, Emily? Or what'd you finish?
I just finished Love is Blind.
Okay, and?
And it was a trash TV show and about trash people. But I had to figure out what happened to those trash people.
That was on Netflix, right?
Yeah, the premise is like they date in these pods and they never see each other. It's just like their voice. And then they finally see them after they propose.
You know what's weird about that is that to me, when I used to date, the most annoying part about people is their voice. Sometimes they're just good to look at. I'm being so serious.
Well, then you would have known immediately.
Shut up. We were watching Married at First Sight. Do you watch that, Brittany? And there's this one guy on there, and he used to be a basketball player, and he's like good to look at. Oh, but when he opens his mouth, I'm like, no. And I'm like, just stop talking. Just stop talking. I don't know what I'm doing. Just stop talking. So anyway, Brian was like, are there lots of guys like that out there? And I'm like, yes, there are.
We chain pieced our green and navy. We're gonna get back to quilting a little bit. I do have to say, not all the people on the show were trash. There were some people that found love. No spoilers, but there were a couple people who definitely ruined it. But that's reality TV, right?
That's basically like watching us.
So now I'm gonna chain piece the peach to the navy, these two units on either side.
I just need to say hi to Rhonda Lopez of Nuttall Sewing because there's not a bigger 90 Day Fiancé fan than Rhonda. And Brian was just in here, Rhonda, and trying to pretend like he didn't love 90 Day Fiancé, but I pretty vividly remember a conversation you guys were having at VDTA together for a long time about 90 Day Fiancé. So hi, Rhonda, and we'll go on now.
So far we've pressed all of our seams open, and we have these two units that are finished. We're just kind of working on these opposite ones. I'm actually going to sew these together and sew these together, and I don't really have to worry too much about lining anything up, but I am going to make sure that these points right there are going to line up. But whenever I press those, I'm not going to press those open. We're going to use lap seams for those.
Ooh, tell me why.
I want to be able to lock those seams.
Okay.
So that way I'll press these two in one direction and these two in another. So then when we come here to flip those over, I'll be able to lock those seams and this point in the middle will line up.
Cool.
I am going to send these over to Jessica, but whenever I am pressing the blue ones, I'm going to press those that direction where the blue fabric's going over the navy and the green. And then I am going to press these so that they go the opposite direction, going again into the navy and green. And those are going to be reversed, and we'll be able to lock those seams. Sometimes when I turn things upside down, I get a little confused, so I just want to tell you one more time. I'm going to be actually pressing to the green and navy side on this one, right? So I pressed the blue to the green and the navy. And I'm going to keep that consistent, and I'm going to press to the green and the navy on this side, just like that. And what that allows us to do is to have our seams opposite so that we'll be able to lock those to get a perfect point here. But I want to show you that I've got my points right here by locking those half square triangles, and I've got my 1/4 inch that you can see because that's going to be sewn into here, and then I've got my 1/4 inch over here. So there's not going to be anything kind of lined up on the outsides. We need that 1/4 inch, but our locked seams pressing to those same consistent sides, which are actually opposite, are going to allow us to have those locked seams.
That's really cool, and I think that's a huge feature of the ACCUQUILT is that you have this 1/4 inch seam. If you were traditionally quilting, you wouldn't have this, right? Emily, like if you just cut out your...
You'd have some dog ears that you would have to trim out and you would still get it, but it wouldn't be as accurate. I might have to guess a little bit. So like whenever when these are together and I sew here, I know that I'm gonna have my 1/4 inch and it's gonna be really nice. Mm-hmm. You'll still have it
Just...
because it gets sewn into your 1/4 inch.
Yeah.
But much more precise and much more accurate with the ACCUQUILT.
Brittany wasn't filming this, but I kind of messed up this vlog.
I'm not sure why Jessica insists on using the flatter on the back of our quilt.
Because it smells good, and I want to use it on everything.
We can use it on the front, but I did throw this away. She
goes, did you use flatter on this? I go, yeah, Emily, I use it on everything. She goes, okay, no more flatter on that part.
I said, it's fine now. But, so, this is what I always see, right? So if we've got this cool iron with our point that can help us open up our seams. But if I keep going, I don't want to do this.
No.
I just want to glide over, and I maybe want to lift my iron a little bit so that I still keep that seam flat and I continue to flatten out the rest of my seam. I give it a good press, and now I can flip it over and give it another press. And if Jessica wants to spray flatter right now, we could in fact get this flatter.
I like the aroma.
Check out our perfect points with our locked seams.
It looks
right
really
there.
nice.
And everything on the back still is very nice looking on mine.
This is relatable content. So if you are getting it to look like this, I'm with you on it.
So and another reason why I say that, because the flatter does have a little bit of a starchy element. So now my seam's just like a little bit stiff there.
Agreed.
So because my iron will open that up for me really flat, the starch is now just like a little stiff. So we like this one.
Yep, we like that one.
I absolutely love the pink spool of thread that we have happening here with these geometric shapes. But as always, if we want to change up our ACCUQUILT block, we could do some rotations. We could bring that blue to the center.
That's cool.
It's a pretty cool block too. This is gonna look like one that we've done in the series as well. I don't know, I can't remember if it's one we have coming up.
This gives me like Southwest vibes.
Yes, it's a little bit like Aztec. So it's very cool too. This could get really funky too.
Oh, that's cool.
It's cool.
Oh, that's super Southwest vibes. I love that.
Kind of like jewel tone now because of the colors that we have.
Yes.
And if you want to do some opposite things.
There's no rules.
Yeah, that's a cool block too.
Yep.
So, do you remember how we had it?
Okay, blue cornerstones to the outside.
Thank you.
and then we're good.
And our spool of thread
is
back. So, we are going to make sure that we don't kind of flatten out any of our points. Whenever I sew these together, I'm going to have this on the bottom. I'm going to line them up. And I'm going to make sure my 1/4 inch goes right next to that point so that I can flip it over and keep my nice point. So that's what I'm going to do next on both of these. And then we'll sew them all together. Last seam.
Yay!
We're going to, we haven't pressed them yet.
Tacos.
Oh, yeah, that's nice. We haven't pressed yet because I'm going to do the opposite thing again, right? So I'm going to press this direction on that one.
Okay.
And this direction on this one.
No flatter this time?
Not on the back.
Noted.
So whenever I go to sew those together and line those up, I don't want to kill my points right here. So I want to make sure when I put those on my sewing machine that I still sew beyond the point. But then I want to make sure that those are locked together and we'll be all set.
Got it.
I love this block because we don't have any of the white or the cream background. And it is kind of similar to our McKinney block that it's totally saturated with color. So I think that having these two blocks in our quilt is going to give a really good balance.
Agreed.
And kind of some visual focus to our quilt. So I love this Arlington block and we are finished with it. So I hope that you enjoyed following along with us and I hope it helps you put your block together.
Okay, so we're at the end of our block and we deserve tacos and Topo Chico.
That's right. That was an interesting block. We got through a lot of good things during this block.
There were
some trash TV talk.
Interesting times in the Arlington block that happened.
We got some flatter spray.
I love flatter and I learned some tips from Emily and she learned nothing from me, but that's okay.
Not true, not true.
I want to say that we recorded a video earlier that's going to be coming out soon about the finishing class. And we're gonna have a little contest and poll with the finishing class as well.
So we'll need to hear from you.
I know that makes no sense, but don't worry, we'll explain it all soon. And we're really excited to get to close to the end of our Good Neighbor So Long, because we have a lot of fun content coming up for you guys in the future.
Very educational.
And it may not just be about quilting, right?
Might be about other things.
90 Day Fiance, for example. So anyway, it won't be about 90 Day Fiance, but we are gonna have some cool stuff coming up in the future.
Make sure, if you haven't yet, subscribe to our channel so you'll get the latest updates when we launch new videos.
And use our hashtags, #perfect points, hashtag
So along with Stitch House,
and
bring us tacos.
hashtag bring us tacos.
Thanks guys, see you soon.